Getting data from online may not always give you the right picture, because there are so many different nuances in there that you can only get to know when you really talk to people.
Pleasure to be joined by you, Anik. So why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about you and your background?
So to introduce myself, I'm Anik. I have been working in HR for around 7 years. So I completed my graduation with a BBA degree with my majors in HR, and normally I started my career in HR. And most of the time I have spent within my 7 years of career, it's in recruitment, it's in talent acquisition. So most of the recruitment activities that I was involved in, it was mostly in recruiting in customer service. It was mostly recruiting in lead generation, in data entry and data processing. These are the recruitments I have covered mostly. And also aside from that, I have also recruited in finance, in sales, in marketing, in IT, in the software development sector or web development sector. In these areas, I have recruited as well.
What do you enjoy most about being a recruiter?
Learning and then sharing that knowledge. This is something that I love about being a recruiter, because whenever you're recruiting, you will often come across positions which requires unique skills and capabilities and competencies. So in order to find such profiles, there are always new challenges and you learn something new. So I should have mentioned in the intro, I believe I should have mentioned that I'm currently managing a team of recruiters, as I'm working as a recruitment manager. So I have 4 people in my team, 4 members in my team. So the best thing about it is you are always sharing your knowledge with the people you're working with on a daily basis. So that is something I really enjoy. And the second important thing is about getting the opportunity to talk to different people, learning about new roles that has like completely different skill sets. And now with the new development in the development with artificial intelligence, with AI, things are going to change more. People will have you will find new positions open in the market for different kinds of tech roles, and that will give us probably a new horizon to experience recruitment in a very different way.
What are some of the challenges you're experiencing or have experienced as an individual contributor and or as a team manager?
Started working as a recruiter, I was an individual contributor. I was basically managing the recruitment all on my own in an organization, and we had to do a lot of volume hiring. So that was definitely challenging, but that challenge also allowed me to learn how to work with the best efficiency you can get with the minimum tools you have. So that is something that was my individual contributor part, and that was challenging for me. And also there is one another big challenge when I was an individual contributor, was that the learning. When you have people, when you're working with people, you get to learn from them and you also get to teach them. So that is an awesome thing, without a doubt. So that was a big challenge for me. So I kind of had to reach out to people who are in the industry, who were experienced. I had to talk to them. I had to get advices from them. That helped me a lot. And then when I became a manager, it was exciting, of course. But being a manager means, if when you're in a leadership role, you have to understand the mindset of your team members. Of the people that you're currently leading. So that's the responsibility, that a big responsibility in and of itself. So at first, learning how to manage people, understanding how to motivate people, I definitely had challenges with that. But with time and with speaking with others, taking help from others, insights and suggestions from others.
What is a typical recruitment process you tend to follow that's worked for you from a 360 perspective?
Start with I won't say I start with the job advertisements or sourcing the candidates. The first thing we need to get right is the hiring request itself. So when a hiring manager is submitting the hiring request, we have to make sure that we have all the information we need. Whether we are helping the hiring manager prepare the job description, or whether the hiring manager is giving us the job description all on his own or her own, we have to make sure that the job description is properly organized, and it gives us the layout of what kind of an individual we're looking for. What are the competencies? We need to have that imagination in our heads that this is the type of person I'm trying to get for my employer. This person needs to have these competencies and these behavioral traits which will ultimately make that person successful in this organization. So that image in the back of our minds is very important. So typically we start with the a hiring request or the job description. That's the part where we focus the most, and then the recruitment process has different steps. Secondly, after that, if I am to explain further down the line, the next step would be finding the right sources. Where should we put the job adverts? Where should we generate leads and make outreach to candidates? So these channels, these sources, depending on what kind of role, what kind of people we're looking for, what kind of competencies we're looking for, based on that, finding the right channels is the second most important thing. And when we have figured that out, we start reaching out to the candidates. And then the assessment phases begin. And assessment phases, it's very difficult to say something in general, like this should be the assessment process. At first, there should be this kind of a test or that kind of an interview. I wouldn't like to generalize it that way, because different roles have your hiring process has to be customizable depending on what are the requirements of the role, the person who will be performing the duties, the responsibilities. So that the assessment part has to be customized depending on what you're looking for, what you need. But typically there is generally a test, and then there are 2 interviews, and then there is background check, and then there is the onboarding part. This is how I would generalize it if I have to generalize.
What are some of the best practices you would encourage when it comes to recruitment and talent acquisition?
The very first thing is don't take too long in getting back to the candidates. Whether they're selected or whether it's a thank you note, don't take too long. Starting from the CV shortlisting section or the resume shortlisting section, at that stage when you have shortlisted candidates and you have reached out to the candidates, from there to the job offer part, it should not take more than 2 weeks. It should not take more than 2 weeks. Definitely, a person may need longer to join because notice periods in that person's current organization and etc. other formalities. So the joining can take some time, but the moment you have reached out to the candidates and invited them to join the interviews and tests or whatever, from there to the offer letter part, the gap should not be more than 2 weeks. So that's the number one best practice in my understanding. And another best practice is to share the RJP, realistic job preview. So what oftentimes happened, we all know about this. Sometimes some recruiters or organizations have sometimes reached out to the candidates and did not share they did not give the full picture to the candidate, the whole thing to the candidate. So we have to make sure that the candidate knows what are the perks of the job. The candidate should also know what are the challenges that the candidate will be facing once he or she starts working. So that is also very, very, very important. So providing them with the proper information so that the candidates can trust us. Actually, they can put some trust that these guys are, at least they are telling the truth, they're serious about it. So these are the 2 main things. I believe these are the 2 practices that I find very important to implement in any recruitment process or within any HR function, to be honest.
What are your top 3 musts for a positive candidate experience or stakeholder experience?
If we have to talk about stakeholders, maybe I can talk about the hiring manager too, because the hiring manager is also a stakeholder, and then the candidates are also stakeholders. The department head is also a stakeholder where the hiring is going on. So I will divide it into 2 sections to make it simple. The candidate, the experience of the candidate, and the experience of the hiring manager. So if I start with the hiring manager, those of us who are recruiters, we need to be advocates for our hiring managers. Our job is to facilitate recruiting someone for the hiring manager's team. We don't make the hiring decision. So one of my previous form, one of my reporting managers taught me something very interesting. So we are recruiters, so we don't really hire. We help the hiring managers hire, to be honest. So basically, what in a different way, if I have to share with you, so what I will do is, let's say you are coming into my store to buy, let's say, let's say a bonsai tree, for example. You want to buy something like that from my shop. So my job is not to tell you which one you should take. My job is to prepare 5 or maybe 2 or 3 such pieces with the proper shapes. My job is elimination, removing any product that you will surely dislike, you will surely not agree with. So my job is to remove those parts and present the best products to you from where you can choose. So we need to understand, and whenever hiring, we need to understand that, and whenever hiring managers are involved in a hiring process, they are taking the final interviews. Our job is to guide them through, provide them the real picture of the market, how to manage their expectations, when to not lose on a lose a good candidate. So these are some of the things that we have to make sure. So that's one stakeholder, the hiring manager, where we have to act as an advocate for that hiring manager. The other part is the candidate. Regarding the candidate, if you follow the best practices, in my opinion, then the candidate experience will always be good, and the candidate will appreciate it. So first of all, we have to make sure that the recruitment process doesn't take too long, which creates frustration. Number 2, we have to make sure that we provide the full details to the candidate. The realistic job preview, the part that I was saying, that these are going to be the perks, these are going to be the challenges. Are you willing to take it on? So and also make sure that the recruitment process is going smoothly. All the steps are being all the check boxes are being ticked in time properly. So these are the ways we try to satisfy all of our stakeholders.
What are some of the most valuable learns you've had in your recruitment career?
The most valuable lesson I've learned is that we should never feel like I know a lot. It's very difficult, because in our recruitment journey, we're always learning new things. Because even for maybe the best recruiter in the world, I would doubt even if that particular recruiter can say with 100% confidence that I know how to fill any role, I know how to hire for any industry, any department, because there are so many different kinds of jobs where the applications are different, the required competencies are different, everything is different. And also there is this trend of new roles being created where we are requiring new competencies. And with the development of AI, with the implementation of AI everywhere, there will be even more new roles which the companies will need their recruiters to fill. So the most valuable lesson I learned is that we always need to keep on learning, and we always need to keep on studying the market.
Would you recommend recruitment as a career to others? And who do you think would be a good fit for recruitment as a recruiter?
Actually, it depends on the person. So someone who likes to communicate, someone who likes to talk a lot, like me, in those cases, definitely recruitment could be a good option for you, because you will have to talk a lot. You will have to talk to the hiring manager. You're going to have to talk to other stakeholders. You're going to have to talk to lots of different candidates. So and different people with different expectations, different dreams and hopes. So we definitely have to communicate a lot, and we always have to have that constant understanding, the constant learning attitude, that we have to always learn new things and understand the changing trends in the job market. So if you're somebody who likes to learn constantly, and that learning may not always come in a theoretical format, in a bookish format where you can open a book and read and then you learn about it. The learning, it's more experience-based learning quite often. You face those situations, you find yourself in a situation where you have to recruit for a very unique position that requires very different skill sets which are not widely available in the market. In those particular situations, you're actually going to have to learn as you go from your experiences. You're going to have to learn. So if you're comfortable learning from experiences, and if you're comfortable communicating with a lot of people, then recruitment can be a very good opportunity for you. And but if you're someone who has a different mindset, who likes to learn from, theoretically learning things, maybe I can say even software engineers, or people who have a very clear likes to have very clear objectives in front of them, the roadmap in front of them. In that case, maybe you can still try recruitment, but the best, in my understanding, the best fit would be those people who are very communicative and who has that experience based learning, interest for experience based learning.
And what would your advice be for someone looking to get into recruitment who may be interested?
Then yeah, that attitude needs to be there, that you're going to be constantly learning, and you're going to be constantly facing situations that you haven't experienced in the past. So if I give you one example, uh, i I think I should share one example, or one scenario where I had to recruit for a very unique or different skill set. So you know that in every country there is the language of that country, and then there are different dialects based on different regions, right? In a country, in that same language, there are different dialects. So I had to recruit for a position where people can speak native dialect of those particular of that particular region, and they have to type it out in that local language after hearing from it. So this is an audio transcription position, audio transcribers. They have to listen to Bengali, a Bengali, very local Bengali dialect of a very particular region, using, from different audio sources, and they have to type it in Bangladeshi language. We have different softwares for typing Bangla. So that was a very unique experience, because even in the interview, we had to get interviewers to help us, who could speak to them in those particular local dialect in the interview setting, so that we know that this person understands that dialect properly. So this kind of situation may exist, especially in the tech industry, because we are feeding AI different data every day, so that the AI can make decision itself. So I think the more AI advances, the more very different and um, unheard of job roles will be created. So if we can have the mindset to take that challenge, then recruitment can be a good option.
Talk to me about industry trends and knowledge. So how do you stay on top of information? And I mean, in terms of where do you end up seeking it? How do you tend to go about thinking when you're researching your market or trends within your market?
From my personal experience, or what I normally do, is I try to keep an open channel of communication with other industry leaders, or within the same industry leaders in different companies. So it's very difficult to get data about it from online, because I'm gonna say something that can be uh, that may be deemed unusual. So getting data from online may not always give you the right picture, because there are so many different nuances in there that you can only get to know when you really talk to people. So the old school conversations, the sit downs, the having coffees with leaders from different organizations within the same industry, what they're facing, what kind of candidates they're having. When you are interviewing candidates and you are getting some experiences, you should be sharing your experiences with other recruiters within the same community. So the best suggestion, the best thing that I best approach I believe for this is having a community.
Talk to me about handling rejection. And I want you to think about it in two ways. I want you to think about it, one, professionally, when you're dealing externally with others, so rejection from them. And then I want you to talk about it internally. So how do you deal with rejection throughout your career, or how have you dealt with rejection throughout your career?
Wow, that's a great question. So I'm having a lot of flashbacks, of all the rejections that I've had in my life. So rejection is a part of life, not only in recruitment, but I believe everywhere. We learn from rejection. So basically, personally, how I deal with rejection is that after, like, when I was younger, it was more difficult for me. But after I got into recruitment, after I started working in the HR, I found something that convinced me otherwise. And I also try to motivate my own family members in the same way whenever they're dealing with any rejection from, like, after they have applied for a job and so on. So number one, you don't only get rejected. The only reason for rejection is not your competency, or it's not even you. Oftentimes the companies change their, their strategies, their business objectives. There are always these different situations that comes up, and it is true. I mean, it is not easy to say, but it is true. The business planning change, the decisions change, and because of those reasons, oftentimes we get rejected, not for lack of competency, or not because I don't know about the job well, or it's not because I am not a capable professional. It's often, quite often, it's because of changes in the decision making process, changes in something new came up. We are working on recruiting for a project, and then the client told us that they are going to change the course of the project, and now we need people with a completely different skill set. So there are so many different things that goes on, and oftentimes people don't even get rejected for capabilities. And that is when I got to know that, I was able to convince myself that, okay, if I get rejected, it can be because of a lack of competency. Maybe I need to learn more, which is fine. But we also need to keep in mind that it is not always because of that. So that is how I encourage my own family members, I motivate my own family members that don't stop trying. And that is also I try to motivate myself. And if I can, when I'm sure that maybe I screwed up this interview because I made a mistake, or I did not have knowledge about this particular portion of the JD, then that is a good thing. I can go out there and I can try to learn. That is actually a good indicator for me. And how I deal with it internally. So basically, were you talking about how does it feel when we are sending thank you emails to the candidates, rejection emails? Was that a part of your questions?
I was thinking more internally when you are dealing with, let's say, for one instance, which is putting candidates in front of the stakeholders and then them rejecting it. Well, whilst you may know that kind
That
of
is
thing.
a great candidate. Yeah, that is a very good question. Thank you for asking that. That is a very interesting question. So that moment, the feeling is in a humane level, frustrating, of course. But you shouldn't give up. So we shouldn't give up. So what we try to do in that situation, what we should try to do, is we should sit down with the hiring manager after the interview. After all the interviews are done, we need to have that conversation. We need to, it goes back to the advocacy part, where we have to act as the advocate for the hiring manager, because the person who will be joining will not be joining in my team. I will not be leading that person. The hiring manager will have to deal with that person on a regular basis. So the 60%, I should say, decision making weightage would go to that person, in my understanding. But when you're seeing that your hiring manager has missed something, and because of that, your hiring manager is missing out on a great candidate, in that case you should try to consult. We should at least make that approach. If it doesn't work out, fine, I will get you a new batch of candidates, and I'll let the candidates know. That's fine. But we should always go back to that advocacy part, where we are trying to advocate the hiring manager and try to alert, be that notification on your phone, that annoying notification on your phone that keeps on popping all the time.
We almost have to delve so deeply into influence to be an influential person for these people to respect your time and for you to respect theirs. Is there anything else we should know about you when it comes to recruitment, or what your ambitions are, what you're looking to do? Anything you think that will be useful for the community?
Three main aims right now. I want to get into a community. I want to work with different hiring managers and different people, and also learn, from regarding different roles, the market trends, or the expectation of candidates in different geolocations. These are the three things I'm looking at. I'm focusing on right now.